before you think of dealing with these people. They're a bunch of crooks.
And also, as evidenced by the Middle Eastern uprisings, they're kept dictators. They had them all murdered, such as Gaddafi's prime example, and the Egyptian president who was sort of kicked out and deposed.
Yeah, no, they were. You see, but it's not working according to plan. I mean, the plan in Egypt was to take, get rid of Mubarak and take his $70 billion bank account, in Switzerland over. But the man they were supposed to replace him with, Mohammed El Baradei, their puppet there, wasn't put into power. So it didn't work according to plan.
I think enough people knew that he was a globalist stooge, and I think that the people just didn't want to have him.
Yeah, you see, that's what's happening. They can't fool us anymore. Their usual tools aren't working because people have cottoned onto them.
So that gets back to the point that you raised initially, the opening of minds and the awakening, and the people that aren't trusting the media, and the people are learning about the money. I want to get back to the money, but yeah. I mean, I think that the powers that be have, I mean, I don't know if it's time immemorial, there have been times when the money has been more free, or actually more nationalized and controlled, such as like tally sticks in Henry, was it the 700 years of tally sticks that were uncounterfeitable, and that was chucked away when the 1696 Bank of England came into being. But how do you? I think they've always got contingency plans, and they've used paper to confiscate gold, and they've got the real wealth. And whether it's Khazarians being frontmen to the black nobility, but I think they plan steps ahead like a game of chess, and they've always got plan B, C, D to X, Y, Z. So
I mean, you can't underestimate these people. But you see, the way to counter someone who's very devious is to be straightforward.
Right.
And the group I'm working with, our plans are very clear. We want it all started because Japan has $8 trillion. Yeah. Earned through 60 years of exporting cars and TVs, right? And that's based on they got receipts, paper receipts for all that. And if you take the current banking rules, where you can leverage up 10 times, it means that they have the equivalent of more than $100,000 for every man, woman, and child on Earth, right?
Just through the fractional funny money game.
Yeah, if you just do it 10 times like a fractional, you have, it's a 10% rule. If you got 10% of something real, then you can multiply that by, Anyway, all that aside, I mean, what I said is we start an economic planning agency hired by staffed by the most intelligent people on Earth to make big plans like turning the Sahara green, refilling the oceans with fish, going out into the universe. It's a project of planning how we as a species want the future to be, and that's been stolen from us by this group of criminals. The solution would have complete freedom of the press, and anybody who could apply to join, and if they pass the exam, whatever, they'd get in there. And this wouldn't be a world government. This would not in any way prevent continuing, ongoing corporations and other institutions to do their own separate planning,
With Ben, I've just got also, I remember a couple of blogs ago, you've put the 59 Nation group claiming to represent the Red Dragon Society, which is down here in Australia, around this area.
Yeah, you want to talk to Admiral Hemi Howe about that.
Yeah, it was interesting.
We've tried to get him on, but it's a bit difficult to reach.
Well, we talked with him in this group, and they're working with us. So, they've had these treaties with China going back some, more than 1,000 years, and the Chinese have always kept their treaties, and they have their own plans, which we support, and then the other, people have come forth are these, Rothschilds and others with stories of, huge amounts of gold, like, way more than the public figures indicate should ever exist, right?
Yeah, where is that gold? Is it in Switzerland?
Well, that's the thing. I've said, where is that gold? Show me the proof, right? I want pictures. I want somebody, if they say they've got like, 1 million tons, and I'd like to see somebody with holding a recent newspaper and standing in front of this gold, so we can see the proof that's there now.
There's pictures of Edmund
that has come forth
from about 25 years ago. Edmund de Rothschild. There's a picture of him holding a kilo gold bar in front of stacks of his. I don't know how big the vault is, but there's a stack behind him. So I haven't seen.
No, there is gold. And one treasure I do know for sure is real is the one in Taiwan. Okay,
Yeah.
Remember when the nationalist government left China, they took 7 trainloads of treasure with them.
Okay, down into Taiwan.
And there's the National Museum in Taiwan, okay? And every year they've changed what they display for the past 50 or so years, and they haven't even begun to show all the treasure they have hidden in the mountains, in bunkers behind the hill, okay?
Good. Yeah, I'd like to see
So
it.
that is one I have confirmed myself by actually going there, okay?
Yeah.
And I hear stories that there are many such treasure stashes, and I'm saying, if it's treasure, why do you hide it? Like, why not build a giant golden dragon and put it on the hill and we can all see it, you know? Why is it hidden in a tunnel? But you know, we're working on that. Trying to, if there's all that treasure out there, you shouldn't be hidden somewhere. It should be handed out, you know?
Monument.
But I think the awakening's happening. The media. I think. What about the NDAA and the shutdown? I mean, that's got to do with detaining citizens and the end of habeas corpus.
Yeah,
but
you see, they don't have the support of the military or the agencies anymore, so they don't have the goons to do it for them. The people with the guns have woken up and said, hey, you know, we're not going to arrest our own families on behalf of these crooks, you know?
I wonder if Chinese... I'm not very up to date on this idea that the Chinese are going to take over the Federal Reserve, but I think there's interesting shenanigans going on in Australian politics. And Obama came and met our very Fabian socialist Prime Minister last year and made an agreement to have submarines in Northern Territory.
Here's the story with the Pentagon, is that what they're saying is we don't want to be like what happened in the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union fell, you had generals who were suddenly, you know, forced to drive taxis in London.
Yeah.
So they want the Pentagon to be funded by the countries of the world and become like a kind of a global peacekeeping force, emerging with the Chinese and Russian militaries. They don't want to be left out, you know. And then they're worried about the continuing of the, you know, payments of their, you know, monthly paychecks. It's and what I've told them is, look, you know, we can continue to pay you, and you can do a much nicer job than stealing oil for these crooks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically agreed, but I still don't, you know, there's only 12 Federal Reserve banks in the U.S., and they're maybe guarded, you know, a few dozen men each. You could just go in there, I told them, and take over the money process, you know, and you don't have to rely on these people for your paychecks anymore.
I mean, there's less than that. I mean, the regional banks, they sort of function as glorified museums, you know, they're just empty halls, and New York City is the brain of the situation, I think.
Well, yeah, or also the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements.
That's the mother, isn't it?
Well, that's the mother lode of, you know, basically it's a room full of computers, you know, or it's a building full of computers. I was once given a tour of the Bank of Japan, and, you know, the nerve center of the yen is 8 big computers in a room. I saw them. And there's a backup in a different location, you know. So it's 95%. It's cyber warfare with these high-level financial computers and codes and stuff. And then you actually have shootouts with people, you know, trying to get access to code books. I mean, we're at that level now.
Chris?
Yeah, I don't know, regaining sovereignty and control. Like I think we've spoken to people, advocates of community money and, you know, community trading systems and things like that. But will it come down to for me, I'm getting a bit. I like to hope that people are waking up, but I think just when the mob has reason to clamour and support war, whether things. Do you think that the mob will clamour when there's a provoked, staged false event attack, such as may happen before the November election?
You see, they can fool consistently. Now, the only people they can fool consistently are down to like about 40%. Okay. They used to be able to fool us all. Like, you know, after 9/11, most of us said, oh, let's go to, you know, Afghanistan and get bin Laden, you know. It's not working anymore. You know, some people still be fooled by this stuff, but not enough, especially not at the higher levels. With more, you know, people actually working in the military, in the agencies, even in the financial industry, you know, they're cottoning on. And the thing is, we really need to understand is that there is a part of the financial industry that has always been good and ethical.
I don't know which part.
Well, like when you go into a money changer, right? And you have these ladies behind the counter, counting the bills and putting them in a machine, right? They're just objectively, they're not taking the money. They're just, performing a service, right? And, for example, the Japanese, they did spend 60 years sending cars and TVs and whatnot to the rest of the world. And they've got all the paper receipts to show this is money they earn legitimately, right? And this accounting part of the system that's based on real transactions in the real world is the core that should be preserved somehow. Yep. So when you go to Thailand or whatever, you go to the ATM, you get local money based on the money you actually earned to spend there, right? That's that part. But, unfortunately, above that, there exists a huge virtual world of crazy stuff. I mean, the easiest to understand example is the foreign exchange trading. There's 1,000 times more trading in foreign exchange every day than there is underlying trade in physical goods and services.
That's just bets against one currency versus another and making...
Yeah, it's just a giant casino, but it acts parasitically, at the end of the day. And it distorts trade flows temporarily, and then they can manipulate it to steal money from people, you know?
How could you regulate it, really?
Well, it's easy, and it's what they're fighting against. It's you put a small tax on each transaction, because if you're gonna send a shipload of cars, across, you don't mind paying a 1% forex tax, but if you're trading trillions of dollars a day on computer screens, in a financial center, that's it. That puts you out of business. In other words, only people who do real things, like you want to go travel overseas, you want to get some traveler's checks, you pay a small fee. You'll do that because you want to go enjoy your beach holiday, right? Yeah. But these guys trading the zillions every day,